Oh.
Only.
So I'm happy to report that we are now being recorded, and I'm very happy to hand over to Phelelani. Phelelani, the floor is yours, and welcome.
Thank you, Jack. Yes, it was very tricky to actually compile this particular set because most of the poems, not most, but I've shared some of the poems with you during the open mic, so. But I always think that even if you can read a poem a million times, it will always give you a different dimension every time you meet it, Yeah, so the poems that I'll be sharing are mainly from 3 sources. The 2 first poems are from my collection that was published in 2019, my Father's Blazer, which is a body of work where I was trying to revisit my childhood complexities in my chain of self-healing. Then I'll then follow with the poems, which I'll say maybe just scattered poems that maybe don't fall under a particular body of work, but they've been published in different literary journals. And then the last section will be my current body of work, which is the Village Watch. So I think that will be the majority of the poems that I'll be sharing. Yeah, so normally I don't introduce poems individually. I just roll from one poem to the next. I let these gangs introduce themselves. We're starting with my Father's Blazer. You will grow up and be a loser like your father. My mother told me. She points at me with her left hand, the flesh and bone revolver. Her index finger is a barrel. Her thumb a hammer. The 3 folded fingers a cylinder. But it is a ring finger that I fear the most. It is a chamber loaded with what was once a marriage ring, now melted into a bullet. Let the ring finger not align with the index finger. I prayed silently. I'm a 12-year-old standing helplessly in front of a bedroom door. I'm a doornail where she hangs my father's gray blazer, the only souvenir of a failed marriage. I never knew that a thing made of fabric can be this heavy, especially a thing of a gone man. Its shoulder pads are on my elbows. Its vent on my heels. The embers that once glowed in my mother's eyes are buried in its inner pockets. There is a foul smell on this blazer. In my mother's nostrils, I'm the smell of damp, the smell of mold, her former husband's cologne, gone wrong. The mosquito. I spot a mosquito on our living room wall, fat and fat. It casts a shadow that eclipses the wall frame of our family photo. Surely it must have fed on all of us in the house, too full to flap its tiny wings and escape. Maybe the blood simmering in its tummy is too heavy with our family baggage, too heavy with generational family tangled knots. In this house, there's an invisible carpenter. He partitions the family living room into small cubicles allocated to each family member. In this family, no one gives a damn about what happens beyond the walls of their cubicle. Surely, the mosquito must have invaded all the cubicles, indulging in a feast of blood in assorted flavors and varying warmth. After a hurried bath, I return to the living room. Someone has crushed the mosquito. Blood splashed on the wall like nail polish. Not red, but the color of damaged liver, the color of our family. If my family members were not self-logged in cubicles, I will instruct them not to clean the blood. I will tell them to let it congeal, let it dry, let it stain, let it become one with the wall paint. This is the only moment and place where our family is together as one in mingled blood. This morning, small and big birds whack the heavens like tent men, pulling and stretching, draping the sky ceiling with a quilt of dark and silver clouds from the horizons to the Ingwe Hills. Down here, industrial chimneys gape like shark mouths, vomiting sulfuric smoke that ascends to patch small openings on the drape, concealing even the tiniest peep of the sun. Today, we can only borrow blue from our memory. We will imagine the sky. A caterpillar to a leaf. I think this is one poem that actually received an award recently in the Poetry McGregor Phoebe Award. A caterpillar to a leaf. Leaf, old friend, green friend, how would you like me to entertain you today? Do you want me to roll my body into a ring, or curl it into a crescent moon, or bend it into a parabola? Say it, I will do it, because this is the last time I slave with you under the tyrannous guard of gravity. This is the last time my body is able to perform lousy, wormy things. The sky has summoned me to the wind's podium to forever perform dazzling, birdy things. My poems. I want my poems to have unlockable doors and curtainless windows. I refuse to turn my poems into fortresses, into lines between laser sensors. I want my poems to be accessible like a bus stop shelter, where one can wait to begin their journey to their distant lover, where a homeless man or woman can sit and sleep, going nowhere. Days are blotting. When days have started preparing costumes for your funeral, they avoid eye contact with you. They hide their mornings. They amend their sunset so you become accustomed to things vanishing. They gently erase the calendar on your tongue. They hide avocado seeds from you to avoid orphaned trees. They add coffin mahogany to your coffee and bring molehills to your doorstep so you get used to mounds of earth. They start paging your notebook to select the page on which they will scribble your eulogy. They send dead upokopoko leaves twirling past your veranda chair like ballerinas to give you a hint that death is neither error nor tragedy. In the woods with Mbolanje. Mbolanje is I wrote this poem, she was 5, I think she's 7 now. In the afternoon, we went into the woods with my niece, Mbolanje. We sat under the cool shade of Umsinzi tree. She asked me to beat the tree trunk like a djembe drum so she can sing for me the songs she heard in her dreams. We then braided the long blades of umjegi grass. As we're walking back home, she asked, Dala, will that grass remain there, braided forever? I replied, everything that has been forced into a shape or form that is against its will finally find courage to untangle itself. She stopped and glanced back. A little bit political. Don't Mandela me. Don't you dare Mandela me. Mandela was not inherited by dust-coated shrubs at the gravel roadside. He was not inherited by the dry umjigi grass in the meadow. Mandela was exclusively inherited by neatly trimmed pine trees that feed picket fences with pine cones up at Tuscan houses. Mandela was not inherited by the wild ucile and uncede beds that feed on wild umdoni fruits and amavio seeds in the woods. He was inherited by sparrows and minor birds that tweet on glass balconies, feeding on pizza leftovers. Mandela was inherited by pigeons that build nests on high electric cables and poop on botanical garden statues. Surviving the country. Every day we flinch, grinding our jaws, trying to survive this country. We're not born in a country, but we landed on umqobeton tree with our bare feet. Every day we try to numb the dropping pain on our heels by tiptoeing like dismal ballet dancers. We were not born in a country, but we landed on a burning cigarette stub with our naked asses. Every day we're on our feet like civil war fugitives. If we sit down, we'll agitate the burn blisters on our bum cheeks. This country sends its elders to queue for oxygen, to stand in the scorching sun like Mexican saguaros. This country sends its children to queue for breadcrumbs, to stand on a line like odd socks hanging on a sympathizing laundry line, laundry the government will rather do sparsely. This country is not our motherland. This country is a foot of a continent firmly pressed on the necks of its frail children. This country does not have a national flag. It is a mummification cloth taken from a looted tomb. This country does not own us. This country is a cheat. It is a termite that smuggled itself into our bones and disguised itself as calcium. Pronouncing the name of this country will leave your tongue septic with thick pus. Pronouncing the name of this country will leave your tongue with a pinching taste of coffin mahogany. Pronouncing the name of this country will burn your energy to the last calorie, leaving you a derelict wasteland of flesh and bones. This is a section which is about the current board of work, the Village Watch, as I said. But I, every time I introduce this work, I like to emphasize, that this work is not about a village. It's not about my village. I was born in a village. I grew up in a village. I'm still connected to the village community. So I use the village space as a bouncing point of reflection. But these issues are about spaces and places where our people dissolve, erode, and suffocate every day. It can be a village, it can be a township, it can be a squatter camp, it can be a slum, wherever they're suffocating. It is a humble way of trying to amplify the voices of the voiceless wherever they are. The first poem here, it's a poem that I'm going to take you in this particular bus ride to the village. Going home. The trembling bus evokes an itch on his sweaty nose. A broken spring on the torn seat pokes his bum. He cannot remember, he cannot count the seasons he has been away from the village. The gravel road dust rises, filling the village bus, turning the villagers' kinky afros red like flames. The fume of diesel and engine smoke sends him coughing. The old bus rattles with each nut and rivet. A man gulping vodka in a bottle as if it is water breaks into tribal song. Sofika Lishona. We will arrive at sunset. A sangoma sneezes repeatedly, roaring like a lion. A goat cries under the seat. A black chicken tries to escape through the bus window. Who cares about this madness? Tonight, he shall sleep between the rolling hills of his ancestors' land, under the sky that is not hesitant to parade its stars. He shall sleep on the equine grass mat and the warm rondavel heart, on the floor freshly polished with cow dung, with a scent announcing the fertility of the chief's land. The night Hadida. Like a samurai sword slicing through the femoral artery, a rugged voice cuts through the night silence. A man explodes in song only sung by warriors going to war. He is walking down the village pathway home. Who knows, maybe his fist is clenched, holding tsunamis he collected from the shipping jacks and bottles. His vibrating tone is fueled by an inferno, sending his blood seething like boiling milk. Like a mad bull, he bellows in a slogan. Kukhona okuzochitheka. Something is going to spill. Moments later, I hear a woman screaming. She cries as if she is on top of a hill. She cries as if she's deep underwater, a wail that carved the village's night into a coffin. This morning, I asked the villagers about the event. With their eyes hanging like loose shoelaces, they all gave the same neatly ironed explanation. It was a wailing Hadida, flapping its wings. Her house. There is an old village lady, Gogo Makhanya. She shares a house with her teenage grandchildren, orphans with kids of their own. Her house has become a heavy boulder on her frail chest. Her grandchildren blast house music in her house. The zinc sheet roof and windows tremble in an endless quake. The kids scream like grinding machines. The old lady walks out, dragging her wooden chair. She sits under the shadeless pawpaw tree, away from her house. She stares at the house with dissolving eyes as if she has escaped the belly of a python. She watches strange men pausing in her yard, going in and out of her house, peeing on the walls of her house, drawing cigarette stubs into a spinach garden. At dusk, she snails back to her house as if her yard is a minefield. She knocks on the door like a stranger. Women in dust coats. In the village, there are women who wear dust coats and safety boots of their gone men. They know a fabric of an absent man can black your body hair up until you bleed through your pores. They know the word father is a fetus fossil and the tongues of their children. They know in certain evenings, a psalm lullaby can sound like a simmering stew in the ears of their children. They know when gravity ruthlessly pulls, you have to offer it your breast as sacrifice to save your torso from caving in. These women know the feminine curves and contours of a woman can be an architectural engineering feature, an earthquake-proof design, especially when that body is the only pole holding the roof of the house. A whistle at dusk. I think this one was shortlisted for the Red Wheelbarrow competition last year. At dusk, an old lady jumps off from a bus. She snails on the bus steps as if she is resisting the descent, as if the bus arrived at the bus stop too soon. She left at dawn to queue for a pension grant. Like a committed guard, her teenage grandson is already waiting at the gate. She walks towards him as if she is walking on a bridge made of thatched ropes and broken glass. She dips her hand between her breasts. She pulls a worn-out leather purse. The grandson's hand is a hawk, a predator of all things paper. He pulls out a stack of banknotes from the purse. The old lady casts puppy eyes on her grandson. The grandson's eyes emit wildfire. He throws the empty purse back at his grandmother's face. The old lady walks towards her house as if she is walking in a quagmire of shadows. She wishes her mother and Avel heart can run and meet her halfway. Even tonight, she will be boiling stone for dinner as a grandson walks victoriously down the street, whistling, calling for his gang. Blackjack and mounds. There is an old village woman, Gogo Makimba. She walks with a bended back like the neck of a cane walking stick. She once had a vegetable garden behind her Rondavel hut. Being weak and landless, she converted it into a graveyard where she buried all her sons and daughters. On Sunday afternoons, she snails around the 4 grave mounds, carrying an enamel ball, picking blackjack leaves for dinner. Her 6 grandchildren surrounding her, 2 of them crawling, pushing like car toys, gravel stones taken from the grave mounds. Vapor. There is a young village boy. His sightings are rare, like a crowned hornbill. He is not with the other village boys on the slope of the weedy soccer field. He is not with the boys swimming in the murky Kukuta pond. When he eventually appears, the tweets of the village bird suddenly transform into a distress call. He walks down the red pathway like a chameleon crossing the highway. His clothes camouflaged with the color of gravel. He carries his ailing grandmother's blue plastic bowl to put donations of rice or sugar or meal. When villagers see him approaching from a distance, they shout a coded signal to their neighbors. They run inside their houses. They close the doors and windows as if a storm is approaching. Then the entire village transforms into vapor. The Village Watch, which is a collection title poem. Silence sits on the village's chest like stubborn mist. Kids have left for school, but there are those who are left behind, peeling hours from the sun. erasing Taffy's shoe prints on the sand. They wander the village gravel roads, pushing wire-made car toys with snuff containers for wheels. They are accompanied by dogs that look like wood. You can swear their torn clothes have been dunked in honey and tar. They hop from guava trees to mdoni trees. Their important meal of the day is not served in ceramic bowls. It is served on wild fruit tree branches, the fiber they share with Ungede and Ungcilo babes. When you ask them why they are not at school, they respond in harmonized unison like Isikatamiya singers. We washed our school uniform. It didn't dry yet. The uniform will remain wet for the rest of their lives. The soil. A John Deere tractor drags an open trailer up the gravel road. Its pointed up pipe puffing a smoke trail towards the sunset. Farm workers in the trailer call the tractor Imamba Elushaza, the green mamba. Oak sunscreen smeared on their faces. Ilala grass hats on their heads. They are moving scarecrows, lifeless figures miming humans. The tractor and the trailer wheels stir up dust and gravel, paste it on their sweaty faces. This is the only moment they can claim the soil as theirs. They sing, clapping. They sing a folk song of their forefathers. They sing to Nomkubulwane, the African rain goddess. They sing, pleading for abundance in the soil, in a land owned by a white man. Soaked beans. This morning, the villagers are dazed, standing around the ancient Umkiwane tree as if one of its branches is a pagan god. The old man, Baba Kakata, has hanged himself. Baba Kakata is a pendulum of tired flesh and bones. The villagers ask, aghast, house. The tree shrugs. Back in his mud hut, on the floor next to his bed, is an enamel plate with sweet potatoes and amadumbe leftovers. Next to his paraffin stove is a gray bowl with uncooked soaked beans. On the homemade plank table is a neatly rolled joint of boxer tobacco ready to kiss a match flame. In the corner of the hut is a 5-liter bucket with Sokam beer concoction, still fermenting. Please let me know in terms, maybe if I'm already out of time, I'll hear from you. Otherwise, I'm just gonna.
I think you've got plenty of time. Thank you. No worries.
Okay, thanks. A crow on sunflowers. She buried her husband 2 weeks ago. Now she's always seen dressed in black, a black toque and a black linen cloak covering her caving-in shoulders. She sells oranges at the taxi rank. At a small table stall, she is a crow on sunflowers. Since the death of her husband, she is seen during afternoons ascending the Ikonde mountain to pray. Maybe is the shape of the mountain resembling the grave mound. Maybe the ancient boulders on the scalp of the mountain know a soothing folk song for widows. On her way to the mountain, she stops, trying to catch her breath. She flails her hands. Her eyes dangle above ant nests. Now she knows that in other places, mounds and holes are homes. The underground is where things become industrious. The wind thrust briefly. The seams of a black clock flap hesitantly, as if a smashed bird trying to rise from the gravel. Potpourri and smoke. When Nomcebo, the domestic worker, leaves for work in the morning, the squatter camp follows her like a stubborn dog. She tries to chase it away, but it clings to her clothes like a cotton strand of a splitting seam. She tries to cut it. It shreds her dress. Before knocking on the door of the madam's house in the leafy suburb, she leaves her patched shoes on the driveway. The smell of a burst township sewage pipe knows how to hitchhike on shoes. When Nomcebo enters the madam's house, she is trailed by smoke of paraffin stove. Sometimes she is trailed by smoke of wood fire. Sometimes she is trailed by smell of candle wax. The madam stiffens her nose and sprays potpourri air freshener all over her house. This morning, Nomcebo is wearing awkward, oversized clothes that disown her body. Today, she is trailed by a smoke of assorted burned things. Burned wooden poles, burned zinc sheets, burned curtains, burned cardboard, burned blankets, burned plastic, burned paper, burned human flesh. The madam stiffens her nose, sprays the potpourri air freshener, and instructs Nomcebo to open the windows. She gives a list of chores to Nomcebo. The madam walks out with car keys on her hand. Nomcebo puts her clean pink duty uniform. She swallowed the city. For the pregnant village girl who was gang raped in the dark alleys of Durban. At knife point, she was forced to swallow the city. She was forced to swallow the big pill of mortar and steel without a glass of water. She swallowed it whole, its streets and avenues bulging through her ribcage, its bridges and skyscrapers uncomfortably pressing against her pelvis, its street lights tangling her umbilical cord, its faulty traffic lights flashing in her womb. Red, red. Thank you.
Oh, Phelelani, that was an incredible reading. Thank you. And it ranged widely. You're welcome to read one more to take us out of the darkness. But if you'd like to stop there, would you like to read one more? Or have you read what you brought? Okay.
No, we've just lost Phelelani.
We've lost Phelelani. Okay.
Always.
I hope he comes back for a question and answer session. Maybe he had to leave us.
Write transcription first.
It could be that they have load shedding. Entirely possible.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yes, odd timing. What I suggest we do then is to have a 5-minute break.
We can stop recording.
Yes, I'll see to that. And if we come back in 5 minutes, I will I'll organize someone who can call people from the floor. And if Phelelani is back, we can ask him a few questions. So
Jacques, Jacques, Mignon has made me the co-host, so I can stop the recording and I can help with the Q&A and the whoever wants to read. So
thank you. That solves several problems in one stroke. Thank you.
Cheers. Okay.
Right. So I'm happy if we stop the recording now and